Super excited to welcome Patrick Massili, CTO at NBC Universal. He has a rich background in media spanning roles at Yahoo, Sky, and more. He has always pushed the boundaries of innovation. He's been the driving force behind Peacock, which is the fastest growing live streaming service in the US. And so we're going to discuss the impact of global streaming at NBCU, which is NBC Universal, and the technical challenges behind it. We'll also get into some of the Gen AI questions. So please welcome Patrick.
Thank you. Ajit. Good to meet you.
We met 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
In New York in his office, and I was like, he spends a week here, a week in New York, and so I said, if you're going to be in London, come and hang out with us. So here we are. And by the way, obviously the NBC PR team. So
thanks for having me.
It's awesome. Tell us about your role of global streaming at NBCU.
So you already introduced NBC, but NBC is obviously a famous brand when it comes to media and entertainment across the world. And 2 years ago, really at the end of 22, early 23, we started to create what we called global streaming as part of the direct-to-consumer strategy for NBC. And this is really the merge, if you want, or reunification of all the streaming effort when it comes to NBC. And so we started to create that group, which is a talented group across the world. So we've got offices in New York, LA, London, Leeds, and Lisbon and Prague. We just opened Prague a few months ago. But the goal is really to use Peacock as a technology foundation to power then other streaming services across the globe. And so we created joint venture with Sky Showtime in Europe, or MultiChoice in Africa, and now we are operating 70 countries across the globe using Peacock as a technology, but different brand.
And all the other countries they use. So the Peacock is a platform, and that you've created, but they can private label it and brand it depending on what country they are in.
Yes. So we choose a kind of strategy, which is really a localized strategy by territory. And so we really believe that creating a local brand was the right fit for us in terms of our international expansion, but also really leveraging the scale of the Peacock technology that we built for the last few years. Peacock was launched back in 2020, so it's pretty much 5 years now, actually. And as you said, it's the fastest growing streaming service. Yeah.
So let's get this data stacks piece out of the way, then we can talk about streaming. So you're a customer of ours, and we appreciate it. Tell us a little bit about how you use data stacks.
Yep. So that started actually probably 10 years ago, pretty much, when I started at Sky, because I started at Sky actually before being at NBC, and I moved to NBC after the acquisition of Sky. But we started to use data stacks at Sky first, being before using that at NBC 10 years ago. We wanted to really have a kind of data store / persistence layer and really reliable, but really robust and really scalable and secure. And that's why we chose data stacks actually and Cassandra across our ecosystem. So very strategic to us. And thank you again for the partnership the last few years.
It's awesome. Thank you. So back to Peacock. We have a sport in the US. It's called football. You guys, have something here that you also call football, but it's different, right? I don't know why. I don't know why you have to kick a ball. No, I'm just kidding. I actually am more of a soccer fan than a football fan. But the NFL season's just started, right? And you guys did the wild card game in January, right? So this is like the biggest. The wild card game in January was the biggest live streamed event in the US history.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And so And now you're streaming games from Brazil for NFL and things like that. So tell us about the technical challenges to build this platform.
So, as you said, that was the first time that a streamer really had the rights to stream that kind of playoff. That was really a moment of big storm potentially coming because of the scale, but also the kind of Taylor Swift effect to the event. So we had the Chiefs versus Dolphins. So looking at that situation, we had to prepare at least 6 months in advance, but with a lot of rigor, making sure that all of our non-functional testing were done correctly with all the level of detail that were needed, and really testing all kind of third parties as well. So actually the effort was not only in our side, we had to lift up the overall industry to make that event. 16 million is actually the number that we hit in terms of concurrent users for that specific event.
Wow.
As you said, this is the biggest ever for live streaming sports events. Making sure you've got the right ISPs, making sure you've got the right CDNs, the right capacity there, that all the industry is able to support that load, that your core platform is able to scale, was quite of a challenge. But I'm glad we did it without any issues, and we are really proud. It was quite of a big moment for the company.
So how do you do stability testing for an event like that? Do you it's got to be like a massive effort, right? On technology, people, process.
It is. It's not only about technology and a group of people. The way that we have approached it is, again, really looking at the industry and who can help us to achieve that kind of event. And internally, we really looked at that by creating a kind of core team and really basically pretty much having our expert looking at every detail, at every layer of the platform end-to-end. And I think the end-to-end aspect is absolutely key into what we do, because the small issues can really create a broader challenge technically when it comes to that scale. So making sure that we put reliability really in the way that we design our software and our product as well. And that's why I was talking about chaos testing, but doing chaos testing at scale in production and making sure that even an issue can actually be recovered pretty much transparently as part of our processes is the way that we did it.
And so I'm assuming people were nervous. They had to be, right?
So overall company it's a mixed feeling in between confidence and being nervous, just because this was never done before, so it was the first time.
Yeah.
And again, at that scale, whatever you can test, things can happen differently in production.
Correct.
So there is always this kind of anxiety, but we try to set the expectation right at the start and really, again, do as much as test as possible and really going into the event with a good level of confidence. Not 100, but the right level of confidence.
Yeah, for sure. You cannot be overconfident. And so what were the learnings? What did you take away? Like, you were obviously successful, but I'm sure there were things that you had said, this didn't go well. Next time we should do this well. What were the learnings, right?
So, really looking at having a plan B for everything, and even having a plan B and a plan C, really. Every part of the platform, whatever you are a partner or a core technology that we develop ourselves, everything, every specific, especially if you are part of the core journey to buy an access to the product, then to access the product and to play back, all these kind of core journeys were really fully, I was going to say fully really reliable in a way that even if something happened, you always have another vendor that is there in standby mode to recover actually the situation. So this is something that now we are deploying across the platform overall as a learning, because it went well specifically for that event.
So it's interesting. I land up spending a lot of time with enterprises, and you hear people say, they always have a plan B. Yeah. But you're saying you may think about doing a plan C as well, so you actually have a failover for a failover.
Yeah. No, that's correct.
That's a different mindset.
It is, but again, at this scale, the impact of an outage for a brand like NBC can be, can be quite damageable. So we try to make sure that, again, everything that we build or everything that we deploy is done in a way that we are as robust as possible and that we can recover pretty much any kind of situation.
So you've innovated a lot, right? I mean, that's great. And a lot of people think about a very large event like that, and it's all back-end stuff, and you're looking at the scaling piece, and you start thinking, is that the innovation, right? And because the innovation's not showing up other than just massive scale.
Yep.
But you've done some things with Multiview, you've done something with Gold Zone, you've done something with things with Daily Olympics, Recap. Tell us a little bit about that.
For the Olympics then,
yes.
More specifically. So actually we used as well the learning out of the World Card Game and the NFL and this kind of large event to prepare for the Olympics. It's a different challenge, yes. By the way. I can talk about innovation, but in terms of technical challenge, that's a different challenge. The live stream large event that I was talking about is really about elasticity of the platform and the ecosystem, right. And making sure you can handle the large amount of people and the inflow that comes to the platform in a short period of time. The Olympics is a different challenge about the diversity of sports. And you need to make sure that your platform overall is operationally agile to set up all these kind of live events. For the Olympics, we had to manage 60 concurrent live events in parallel, more than 3,000 during 2 weeks, and more than 300 during a day. So all these kind of metrics really needs to be adaptable within the platform. And so we are then using the Olympics for innovation, like what you said, and some of the features that you listed. Some are innovation-driven through technology. Some are really at the company level, especially when it comes to production and bringing all the teams together for things like Multiview or Gold Zone. Yeah. It's things that we are doing across the company. So in between our production team, our editorial team, our product team, our technology team, really working together. And using the Olympics as a vehicle for innovation. I think that's quite of a DNA of the company when it comes to the Olympics. We are streaming the Olympics for years as part of NBC, but really we are using the Olympics to innovate. Yeah. The daily recap stuff, which is very AI-driven, it's much more technology-driven. This one, it was a bit of our golden features, really, when it came to the Olympics. And it was about recapping, doing a recap, which is personalized, based on what we believe you will like to watch. And it went well. It went
really, really well. Yeah. I think we talked about this. It was like really, really well. The Olympics were really well done. Does everybody agree? Let's talk about Gen AI. Tell us a little bit about how you're thinking about using Gen AI, right? And because you're taking and we've had a chance to talk a couple of weeks ago. You're taking a different approach, right, on how you're going to actually create a platform that serves apps inside. Tell us a little bit about how you're thinking about it.
Yes, to follow up a bit what I was saying about the daily recap. Again, we try to use the Olympics in that specific example as a vehicle for innovation, but also as a way to test things. Yeah. The way that the daily recap was done was, by using Gen AI as a framework to do that. But we don't want to be tied to one specific model. So we need to make sure that we are using the right model for the right use case. And making sure that we are using a platform as a gateway to access this model. The way that we did this one on the daily recap that I was talking about, actually we learned a lot by doing that at scale in production, even if it was a kind of innovation functionalities, by bringing talent right from the start. Daily recap was using the voice of a famous commentators in the States, Al Michaels, but bringing him in the loop from the start of defining and designing that functionalities was actually the right things to do for us. Because then he was really able to participate to the way that we were building that functionalities and to actually then be pretty much the right sponsor of it. But data was also important. So making sure we have the right data quality to iterate and to be really then relevant in the way that we expose that back to the users was absolutely key and quite of a big learning as well. So in the way that we use it, it's like trying to learn as well, trying to learn, trying to make some tests, and then learning out of this test, and then refining and iterating out of it. We also use GenAI internally to improve productivity or efficiency when it comes to our development team, our technical team, our editorial team. So we've got a lot of back offices initiative that we are doing. But then this kind of functionalities, or we were talking about personalization a few minutes ago. So personalization is also one key topic, or CRM and agents.
Yes.
These are the kind of things like that we will be doing. Again, just to finish on the GenAI daily recap stuff, we use that specifically to actually create clips out of the content that was produced during the day.
Wow.
So, but it went well, it worked well.
And by the way, all automated? Or there's human assisted?
No, we've got also human that were curating the overall experience as well for a couple of reasons. One is that we wanted really that to be the highest possible quality for our customers. It was the first time that we were doing it. And so we wanted to have the right then overview from human and curation of what we were doing. So we have involved some editorial curation as well as part of our process.
And so now that you've gotten this done and you're starting to do more and more, right? Obviously, Copilot and things like that. Yeah. What do you think are challenges that you're still thinking through, right, as you start rolling out more and more Gen AI features in the company?
So again, it's a technology that moves quite rapidly, and where we will be in 2 years, I don't really know. Yes. This is kind of exponential growth right now, so it will be interesting to see. But things like what I've just explained about how can it help us as an internal company, as an internal organization within the company to be better every day. Yeah. This is things like you listed Copilot. This is things like we will be doing. Yeah. And then we will just try to accelerate in some of the personalization or agent and trying to see and learn out of it. But I'm sure that new ideas will pop up in the next year based on the maturity of the technology as well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, I'm going to shift gears. You have engineering teams in London, Lisbon, Prague, and the US. Mm-hmm. What are the challenges and benefits of having a distributed team across multiple locations?
Well, you were talking about innovation is one of the advantages. Yeah. Actually, having such a good team, and I'm really lucky and proud of the current organization, but having a team that is distributed with kind of multicultural and international allow us to think out of the box when it comes to some of the challenges that we need to face and some of the innovation. So that was probably one of the main aspects, but also we grew the organization quite a lot for the last 5 years. So being located into 1 or 2 locations was probably not good enough for us. We wanted that distributed scale to find the right talent. And that's what we did. That's why we just opened Prague a few months ago, and we are scaling up Prague now.
It is interesting. Amazon AWS just announced that they are going to ask people to come back to work 5 days a week, right? You have to come to an office. You think you're going to remain distributed forever now?
We are going to remain distributed. We've got offices across the cities that we talked about. Yeah,
that's awesome. All right. 4 years after the launch of Peacock, what are you most excited about?
Well, we just said Peacock was for the 2 consecutive last year, and the year before the fastest growing streaming service in the States. So that's something that we are quite proud of, and I hope the next few years will continue that way with that level of growth. So this is something that with the NBA coming, we just announced that we bought the right for the NBA in the States. It will come in a year from now, and then we've got the Super Bowl, then we've got the Winter Olympics. So that will be quite fun. The
Yeah.
next 12,
Some
18 months.
exciting events coming up.
Yeah.
So I have some rapid fire questions, but before we go there, there are a lot of developers in the room.
Yeah.
What career advice would you give them?
Well,
Because
be
most
curious.
of them would love to be
no,
employed,
no, I mean,
employed by you, right?
Take risk, be curious. This is how I managed my career. So if I have to give one advice, would probably be this one: take risk.
Yeah, be curious. All right, rapid fire. What's one show you would watch on repeat forever?
Yeah, good one. I'm French, just in case.
I think they noticed.
They know this. So probably the 1998 first, you were talking about football before. So the France-Brazil World Cup final.
Yes.
Back in 1998, first time that we won the World Cup. And I'm still a big fan. And we had probably the best player at that time, who was Zidane. So I can watch that every year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm sure the last World Cup final was not on your list.
No, but it was a good game. But
It was a good game.
Yeah.
If you would revive one moment from your career, what would it be?
Probably it's hard to choose, but a couple of them. One, when the CEO of NBC called me to help him shape the D2C strategy and build Peacock for NBC. I jumped into a plane straight away. So I was talking about taking risk, and I've got a family of 3 kids, and so but we moved very straight. I think that was quite of a unique opportunity to work on a global product. The second is about the workout game that we discussed, doing something like that just after you launched your product, so 3 years or 4 years after, and being recognized by the industry as probably one of the best sports app in the States is
Sure.
yeah, something
big
something
achievement.
good, yeah.
What's the second?
Both. Just say it both.
Both of them. All right. If you could use AI to meet any person in history, dead or alive, who would you choose?
Yeah, it's a hard question. If I don't talk about any kind of relatives and parents, so if I look only at the professional aspect, and actually without AI, because he's still alive, someone that I would love to have a coffee with and have a dinner is probably Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
Trying to always been fascinated by him about the way that he built Amazon, his long-term vision, and his way to reinvent himself every year. So yeah, that would be good. But I hope without AI, actually.
Yeah, no, for sure. For those of you who are actually students of company cultures, you should go and check out Jeff Bezos' letters to shareholders. Every year, he would reinvent Amazon again and again and again, and he would actually share it in the shareholder letter that he would send out. So that's what. Yeah. What are you streaming on Peacock right now?
We just watched with the family The Fall Guy. I think it's starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. It's one of the good advantage actually of being a streaming product for Universal. Is like we've got the pay one movie right after the theater window, so
yes.
We were able to stream that as part of Peacock. It's a good movie.
That's awesome. That's
fun
awesome.
to watch. Yeah.
All right, in one word, how would you describe the future of streaming?
One word, bright.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, Patrick, thank you very, very much. It's been a pleasure to have you on stage.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chet.